This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrick, and alongside me, as always, is the PC muscle race himself, Laron Dawkins.
What's poppin'?
Hi, Laron.
Hey, Corey. How's it going?
You know what I've noticed the last few weeks, Laron?
What's
is that your hair is finally coming back and taking shape.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what took it so long to grow back this time because I was like when I cut it off last year, I was like, oh yeah, it'll be back in 4 months.
Nope.
19 months later. Nah, that's an exaggeration. Like I forgot, when did I do my? Wait.
It was sometime last year.
Yeah, because let me see. My boyfriend went to California and decided he was gonna stay for an entire month, and he swears I did it, because he was gone, and it was like, no, you are not the reason why I did this to my hair.
Yeah.
Today.
Well, look,
today.
Well, Laron, I'm glad it's back, and I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Like and I'm letting it do its thing more naturally. Like I'm not trying to do a lot of like chemical like stuff, this time. I'm just trying to do it more naturally. So who knows? Like I would with my hair type, I would love for it to like go a certain way, but it's not gonna go a certain way. But I've embraced it because you know what? That's the kind of thing we do. Like be happy with our bodies and skin that we're in.
Speaking of happy, I'm also happy to say that the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov, is also here. Hello, Stephanie.
Hey, you guys know that there's two types of people when they take drugs. The one type enjoys the drugs as the drugs are intended. This could be medicinal or illicit. And the other type has the completely opposite reaction where they freak out. I think that's what's happening to my cat. So she was put under anesthesia to get her infected teeth pulled out. And they're like, she's going to be really tired and she's not going to want to eat. Just let her rest. She might not be like herself. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I take her home. Her pupils are dilated. I don't know how much fucking medication they gave her. And she's paranoid as fuck right now. She is just like... the slightest sound, she just like pieces out. Like she won't let me hold her at all. She's wigging out right now. Happy to be here.
Your cat's a narc.
Speaking of narcs, that voice you hear is the man, the myth, the legend. Matthew Keel is back. Hello, Matt.
Hi. How are you?
Yay.
Great. How are you? Is the real question.
I am in a dungeon. It's Bagel and I down here. This is the first video recording I've done in the new digs. And I'm about to be a father, y'all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Literally at any second, really.
Yeah, I was telling Stephanie before recording, like we're having Braxton Hicks contractions. We are 35. We are 35 weeks in, and we think this boy's coming early.
Yeah,
so,
the first one always comes early. Let me tell you. Just telling you.
I feel like that's a weird meta commentary that we didn't need to know, but thank you, Corey.
Well, you take that what you will.
My son came exactly on time, so don't worry. You never know.
I mean, I'm more worried about aspects of his arrival than whether or not he'll show up. So
he'll show up eventually.
That's as far as I'm going to go into that, just because I got to respect the partner's wishes and not get into too much details. So, gonna be we picked out a name.
Ooh. Are you going to share or are you going to wait?
No, I'm not going to share. We're going to wait. Everybody's asking, and I think my coworkers are planning a baby shower, and they're being super, super not stealth about it, despite their best efforts.
Not stealth about it.
Yeah, they're like, so do you have a name yet? Or is it still too early, or is it subject to change? And I'm like, no, we have a name.
Subject to change?
I'm like, no, we have a name. We're just not saying yet. And they're like, oh, okay. And when's she due? and she's due March 8th. But
You
But
know,
yeah,
if you would have just held it in one more month, our kids could have had the same birthday, Matt.
which one is this, Riley
Miles
or
Miles' birthday is March 31st.
I don't like the way that held it in sounded.
Well,
Well, again, take with it what you will. I said what I said, and I can't put it back. So, just like my kids, am I right?
can't put the toothpaste back in the tube on that one.
Well, I do threaten my son that I would return him to the hospital if he wasn't behaving.
Yeah, but then if TikTok has taught us anything, he could just say, "I'm supposed to contact the manufacturer, and that's you."
TikTok.
Burn.
So,
yeah.
So before we get started, we've kind of we didn't reformat the show, but we've really nailed down a format this time, and it's gonna be awesome. We've got a doc. It's got different fonts. It's got different size fonts. It's great.
And you brought me the hammer that destroys show formats.
I did. So, anybody playing anything cool before we kind of jump into our topics? LeRon, you've been playing Dead Space. I want to hear about Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure everybody else wants to hear about Dead Space.
Okay, should I field questions for this or just start talking?
Why don't you just talk, and if somebody has a question, they can yell one out,
Okay, all right. Well, cool. All right, so
or
Dead
raise their
Space...
hand with the little raise hand button on the Zencaster.
All right, so Dead Space Remake, as everyone knows, like Callisto Protocol and the Dead Space Remake were the games I was waiting for. I am not here to slander Callisto Protocol tonight. That's not my job. Not tonight. But the Dead Space Remake, oh my god, it's basically everything I imagined it could be. It was going to be, and then some. I mean, like, a lot of tweaks and changes they've done to it, besides the fact, I've seen some comments in certain places where I was like, it's just a reskin version of the game, of the original game. And if that's the attitude you're going to have, like, you're not going to appreciate it. I'm just going to say that right there. Like they've tweaked everything, like the actual story elements, just the interactiveness of the game itself and things like that. I'm enjoying the actual tech side of it, because I'm playing it on a PC. I'm enjoying the tech part of it because like there's like it's built on the Frostbite engine. So the Frostbite engine is utilizing all the native particle effects and everything that Frostbite's known for and stuff like that. And
oh, really? It's a
like,
Frostbite game?
Yeah, people like the shit on the Frostbite engine, but I remember when like they couldn't get enough of it back when my Battlefield Bad Company and some of those some of those games were out and stuff like that, But man, like, the level of detail in the game is just freaking amazing. Enemy AI is refreshed. It's crazy. I legit had a real jump, not just a jump scare, but a scared the shit out of me moment playing the game a few nights ago. And I mean, there, like, no spoilers tonight. So basically, like, things with the story have changed, but I think some of those changes they haven't changed to where it basically like blasphemes the original content, but they changed in ways that actually elevate like the original game's experience, and I'm kind of glad for that. Weapons have been retooled for the most part because my favorite weapon in all the Dead Space series is the contact beam. And number one, you get the contact beam a little bit earlier than you should because I don't remember me getting it where I got it at. But it has it has a new normal fire mode, and the alternate fire mode is now what the gun used to be. It was what was the gun's normal fire. So like where you have to charge up the beam and then you just let it loose. That's the alternating fire because the initial fire. You guys remember? Why is my phone playing? Oh, I know why. Okay. So you guys remember in the Matrix? When Agent Smith was in that. Actually, it was the second Matrix, the first Matrix. No, when Agent Smith was in that guy's body. And the one dude like blasted him with like this just electrical cannon thing or whatever. Yeah. Basically that's what the freaking contact beam has become now. It's just basically an annihilation ray. And I'm like, man, like I was trying to play the game to get the one gun run, which basically is the achievement where you just use the plasma cutter for the entire game, for the entire run of the game, and you get that achievement. As soon as I got the contact beam and I just tested it out real fast, I was like, oh no, this is the weapon now. I'm using this the rest of the game, and that's pretty much all I've done. The creep factor of the game is up there. They ratcheted up a good level. Because we're now like in like super next gen, like Dead Space 1, 2, and 3 came out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So gaming technology has changed a lot because like playing around with the lighting, and this is whether or not you have ray tracing on or not. Playing with the lighting, like when it gets dark and it gets creepy real fast. The sound design, yeah. I thought Motive and EA were full of shit about the sound design and stuff like that. And I'm playing in full 5.1 surround. Like I don't play horror games with headphones on. That's just a no for me.
That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
But yeah, like playing with 5.1 surround, just in my room in the dark, and I'm stepping into new rooms and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is creeping me the fuck out. So yeah, and Isaac talks, so there's that, so now, there's some good things. It's good foundation, I am halfway through the game right now because I am actually savoring like every minute of playthrough for it. So yeah, I'll probably have a beat by the end of the weekend coming up. Yo, Matt, what do you want to say?
Now, I have not played Dead Space since original Dead Space. Did Isaac talk then?
Not in the first game, no.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, he got a voice. He got a voice starting in Dead Space 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying. Yeah, they even because like in the because like you remember when you curb stomp.
Yeah.
Remember how he would just he would just like grunt and stuff, in the first game. And then the second game, like when you start curb stomping, he starts like getting really frustrated and hurling obscenities and stuff like that. They actually have that in this game now.
He turns into broke ass Vin Diesel or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Whereas in the first game, he's basically Link going, ah!
Right. Yeah. So the game's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
I will say this one thing, and then I'll turn the mic over to you guys. The original Dead Space always played with my emotions. Like it was the one that actually traumatized me the most out of all 3 Dead Space games and stuff like that. And sure enough, it's like that emotional damage and past trauma has come back to me playing this game, because like there's literally some places I walk into a room, I recognize the room, like nope. I am not in the mood for this. Like I've literally walked into some rooms in the game, and I've actually had to pause the game and sit there for a moment and be like, am I saving the game and turning it off for the night, or am I moving forward? Because it's like, goddamn, like Matt, remember the decon scene, the decontamination scene? Yeah. Emotional damage. Yeah. Or the first time you step in engineering and it's nothing but noise.
Yeah, no. It's weird. I love Dead Space so much, but having I've basically lived an entire new life since Dead Space came out. Mm-hmm. So knowing some shit that I know now, I'm afraid to go back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like not in like a I'm so worried that a game I love is going to be bad. No, I'm not worried about. I'm worried about the
trauma, the trauma that you went through playing the game originally, and I'm somebody that actually I got to the point where I enjoyed Dead Space so much back in the day that I was speed running it. Mm-hmm. Like once I got everything, and of course, all you have to do is max out one weapon, in the level ups and stuff like that. Yeah. And you're basically home free at that point, because New Game Plus, you just continue taking that stuff with you. Mm-hmm. But yeah. There have been some times where I get impatient and I start running, and then I'll start running. I get halfway down the hall, like, what am I doing? I don't know what's about to jump out anywhere, because there are new scares, and that's another thing too. I forget what they call it. It was like a fear factor thing for the game, but basically you step into a room and you can hear Isaac's heart rate go up, and stuff like that. And I'm like, And I'm like, I just stepped in the bathroom. Why is his heart rate going up? What is going? This is the
I
one
gotta pee
spoiler I will
so
give you.
bad.
This is the one spoiler I will give you because in the original game, nothing attacked you in the bathrooms. That is not the case now. Like
that seems more like a public service announcement than a spoiler.
Yeah, Bagel, protect me, Bagel, please. I'm scared.
Hi, Bagel.
He's just whining a lot, so he's getting held.
So there you guys go. I'm turning the floor over back to you guys. That's the only thing I've honestly been playing. I installed Hi-Fi Rush last week, but that was the day before Dead Space came out, and there was no way I was going to have enough, enough of an attention span to even try that game out, knowing that I wake up the next morning and I'm playing the game I want to play. So yeah.
Wait, so Dead Space has taken over even Monster Hunter?
I've only played one thing in Monster Hunter, and today they actually dropped the information for Title Update 4, which new monsters, new events, and stuff will be happening on February the 7th. So yeah, like honestly, I haven't really played much Monster Hunter since Callisto Protocol came out. If you think from December 7th until now, February 1st, like there has not been much Monster Hunter happening with me.
Nice. Stephanie, what are you playing? I know you're trying to play The Last of Us while the show's on. But...
Yep, that's essentially what I've been playing. So, I mean, nothing really new. I finished up the main part of the Pittsburgh area, and I'm with Sam and his older brother. I already forget Henry and Sam, and we're just getting to the sniper part. So, still fun, still taking screenshots just for fun. The enemy AI is making it challenging. I hate stalkers. They're the worst. I hate them more than the clickers and the bloaters because they just come out of freaking nowhere. But it's funny. I was going through the sewer system and I don't know if I didn't notice it before. Maybe it's because I played the game once, but like I can see their motherfucking heads poking around the corner and then back and then over and then back. And I'm like, I see you. I lift up my gun and then they're gone. And when you put in listening mode, you can't see them. I'm like, all right, well, now I just got to wait for them to run at me and blow their face off. So. So that's what I've been playing until next week, anyway.
I know.
What's next week? I actually don't know.
Hogwarts Legacy is next week.
Oh, okay.
What are you playing, Matt?
Monster Hunter. Lots of it. Lots of it.
You hunting monsters?
What's your master rank?
My master rank is 130 something.
Oh crap! You're coming up on me. Like I'm.
That's
like
just, but that's just Switch. I started the PlayStation version.
You're playing. Yeah. PlayStation.
And let me tell you, I put almost 500 hours total into Monster Hunter Rise, including Sunbreak. And well, I mean, it's over 2 years. It's not like I've just been mainlining it. Although I am settling into a point where I think this game is just going to be most of my year, mainly because I know it. It's the loop is relatively similar across the 3 different Monster Hunter games I have played in the past week. And Rise is just it's really fun on PlayStation.
Rise turned out to be so fun.
Like I loved World when it came out. Like I wanted to 2018 was a monster of a year, so I didn't get to put near as much time in World as I wanted to. But World is wonderful. I've played that a little bit this week. I've also once again booted up Generations Ultimate on Switch, and that's a weird time.
I can't go back to the legacy Monster Hunter games. Like too much has changed. Since World came out.
Like I am probably going to grit my teeth through Generations Ultimate just because I've seen like the main Elder Dragon in it. Autel Call, I think is what it's. I think that's what.
Oh yeah, Autel Call, yeah.
Which is just like I want to fight that thing. I mean, even if I go in, fight it, lose, I'll be like, okay, I'm done with Generations Ultimate. Just because,
I'm like, goddamn, like Monster Hunter found a way to put Voltron in a game.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's a podcast I listen to called the the Hunters Quorum, and they're going through all of the Pokemon games as well as all of the Monster Hunter games.
Oh yeah.
And I'm more interested in the Monster Hunter side of that, because the only thing I really like about Pokemon is the art. But when they talked about Autel Call, I'm like, okay, I have to see what this thing is. And almost immediately I put Generations Ultimate on my list of things to buy. And I eventually bought it, right before Sunbreak came out last year.
Mm.
And I've dipped into it here and there, but it's way different for Monster Hunters. Like, if you started with World and you're going back, there are some pains that you have to go through. Played World again. I still like World. I think I like World more now than I did. Yeah, I know, Bagel. I know. I don't know what's going on with him. I'm sorry. We just have to deal with him for a minute. But in World, I was leery about going back because when I first started Rise, I relied so much on the Palamute to get me around. But as I got through high rank and master rank, I found the 2 Palico setup was more optimal for my build. I'm a bow and glaive main, so the Palicos are a lot. 2 Palico setup is my bread and butter in late game Rise and Sunbreak, and that has translated really well to World, I think. So I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Rise. Once Sunbreak comes out on PlayStation, I'll be there as well. And I will put out the call if anybody wants to play Monster Hunter with me. I would love friends to play with. Infinite_rewind on PSN. And especially if you're new, I won't really like try and bulldoze through everything. If you have any questions, I'll try and help out. And I'll try and be a very complimentary hunter, because I'm pretty good with the bow. I'm pretty good with the glaive. So
You know what? I was going to actually like get it for PlayStation, but apparently it's not on PlayStation Plus, which kind of shocked me because I was like, how'd y'all put it on Game Pass, but I didn't put it on PlayStation Plus? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. So in that regard, I'm like, I'm not spending $40 again for this game.
and I don't blame you.
Like, I bought it full price twice. I bought it on the Switch when it came out, and I bought it on the PC when it came out, and then I bought Sunbreak on the PC. So like, I'm not. So yeah, like if it was on PlayStation Plus, then it wouldn't be a problem. But I have my theory for why it's on Game Pass and not on PlayStation Plus. I have my theory.
What's your theory? You have to tell me now.
My theory is like, because Sunbreak is supposed to be released for like the console versions in sometime in the spring. I have a funny feeling they'll be pulling it from Game Pass then, because basically like if they keep it free and people just buy Sunbreak, like I don't think Capcom really makes money. Yeah. So
the thing is, they won't put Sunbreak on PS Plus, because expansions and DLC never get discounted on PSN, or at least they do very rarely. Like, you can get discounts on like fighter passes for Dragon Ball Z all the time, or additional character. I think Guilty Gear Season Pass was on a sale on PSN recently, but more often than not, DLC does not get a discount. All right. I need to mute myself and deal with my dog, because I don't know what the heck is wrong with him. I will be right back. Continue.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. So I played the first 2 hours of Hi-Fi Rush, and it's an incredible experience. If you don't know what it is, we talked about it a little bit last week when we were talking about the Xbox showcase, and they kind of shadow dropped this game onto Game Pass after the showcase. It's a third-person rhythm action game with some light platforming and collecting and stuff. It's $30 if you're on Game Pass. It's really cool. The combat mixed with the rhythm stuff is really kind of innovative to how you do critical hits and stuff. The art style is really great. Chai is really a funny and cool character. And I think it's a game and a character that Xbox really needed right now, because obviously they've been going through some issues getting games out, and
Right.
we don't know if Starfield's coming out in the first half now, and obviously Halo's going through some turnover. And I just think this is a breath of fresh air for Xbox fans. The music is really fun. It's really great. 808 the cat is kind of becoming the unofficial Xbox mascot across all of their social media stuff, which is
For
cool.
real?
And yeah, I really like this game. The characters are charming. The bosses are cool. The boss battles are cool. It's just a great game. I highly recommend it if you have Game Pass, just to check it out. There's also a $10 upgrade for like a cosmetics pack, so you can kind of get cool skins for your characters, and some extra gears to upgrade your character. But it's not, you can play through the whole game and be just fine upgrading. It's more of just like a booster type thing. But $30, it's a great game. I really love it.
I'm so glad
I,
to hear it because I'm hearing, sorry, lots of wonderful things about it, and the fact that it kind of shadow dropped. It's a great
mhm.
kickstart. So to the year
Yeah,
for them. Awesome.
yeah, it's not something you would expect from Tango Gameworks either. For those who don't know, they developed the Evil Within series.
Yeah,
Oh,
their forte is horror games.
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
All right.
Shinji Mikami is the producer on this game. Who I don't know if you heard of a little game called Resident Evil 4, but really famous for that game. Uh, so yeah, it's cool. It's great.
What
Uh,
the hell is Resident Evil?
I don't know, another zombie game.
Oh, jeez, not another one.
Apparently, there's 8 of them and a bunch of spin-offs and movies. Apparently, it's successful. Who knows?
Next thing you know, you're going to tell me that there's some tall lady in it that the world spent a year thirsting after.
Yep. They want her to step on you or
Oh.
something. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know.
I do want her to step on me, though, just saying.
Yeah. Remember when everybody got really upset when they made her a normal sized person in the multiplayer, because it would have been really unfair?
Yeah, no, valid. Yeah.
Gamers are weird, man.
Yeah. I've also been continuing my quest in Fire Emblem, but I don't really have anything else to say other than what I've already said
Well,
about
are
that
you
game.
still liking it?
I like it. I'm not sure if I like it as much as Three Houses.
Okay.
It's really hard, because there's not really any. There's some deviation from the main quest, but it's really just a straight up hardcore strategy game. And if you mess up,
Mm.
you're screwed. You can't just like power yourself over. At least where I'm at right now. And they took out all the social stuff from Three Houses, so that kind of bummed me out a little bit.
That
'Cause that-
sucks because that was like the special part of Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yeah.
I feel like well, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the what is it? Isn't this a different team?
Yeah,
Is
well,
it the same team? Yeah.
Koei Tecmo developed Three Houses, and this is Intelligent Systems, which Intelligent Systems is owned by Nintendo, and the kind of creator of Fire Emblem, really, creator of Fire Emblem, Paper Mario, Advance Wars. So any type of kind of spin-off RPG you can think of, they've kind of done. Codename Steam is another game that they did. So this definitely feels like an Intelligent Systems Fire Emblem. So you think of Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, the Game Boy Advance games, Fire Emblem Fates, specifically Conquest, if you played that on 3DS. So that's what this feels like. It's fun. It's great. It's a great strategy RPG, but I wouldn't expect any of the bells and whistles that Three Houses had. Of, I mean, there's like a social space where you can go around and talk to people, but it doesn't really do a lot. You can still cook food to get bonus points for your partners and whatever, but like it's not the same, right? It's it's a very beautiful game, though. I do have to say that it looks a lot cleaner and a lot better than Three Houses, but I think you would expect that from a Nintendo internal team than a second or third party. So, but that's kind of all I'm playing. I kind of forgot God of War existed, to be honest, the last couple weeks. But
you just fall out. Did you just fall out of love with it?
I was never in love with it. I just, I don't know. I need to finish it, but I'll get back to it at some point.
Oh, I forgot to mention. I beat Uncharted 4. The week Dead Space was coming out.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, so I've beaten 2 games in 2023. So yay, I'm off to a rolling start compared to
rolling
2022.
We got a winner here, everybody. If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support. Speaking of winners, we're going to get into our first topic here. This was kind of brought up in our writing team chat a couple days ago because somebody was talking about video game budgets, and that Sean Layden quote came up from a couple years ago in the chat about, bloated budgets, and, a game on PS4 would over double the price on PS5, which we're already kind of seeing in certain games and stuff like that. After playing Hi-Fi Rush and the releases of smaller titles like Pentiment, Battletoads, Tell Me Why, Grounded, among others, that release alongside massive games like Halo Infinite, Forza, Gears 5, it's been more and more apparent that video game budgets on AAA titles are becoming so bloated that if they don't sell 10 million copies or have a supplemental way of monetizing like a Battle Pass, Game Pass, seasonal content, etc., a major studio could be done after one failure. So I'm going to read this quote from Sean Layden, former PlayStation executive during the PlayStation 4 era. Now he just signed on with Tencent to curate and maybe help develop some games for them. He says
he ran to the arms of the devil.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to talk about it. If we let's see, where is this?
In a
quote?
capitalist system, the devils are everywhere. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So he said, Layden noted that game development seems to double in cost with every console cycle. While he worked on a budget of around $100 million for games like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, he predicted that PlayStation 5 games will eventually take $200 million to make and continue growing. If we can't stop the cost curve from going up, all we can do is try to de-risk it, he said. That puts you in a place where you're incentivized towards sequels. Later in the article, he says, what happens there is you end up with 3 or 4 silos of games or game types that continue to exist, and variety is squeezed out. If it's a young person's activity, I felt this is a good time to put the pin in my legacy. So yeah, he kind of brought this up, and we're already starting to see it, like the Callisto Protocol, right? It was reported to be made for $140 to $160 million in 3 years. Probably a lot of outsourcing, a lot of help from PlayStation also was noted in that development. Obviously, Halo grew to a budget of $200 and something million with the delays and trying to get it to run on Xbox One base and an Xbox Series X, and that whole range of systems and PCs and consoles and stuff. Are we just losing sight of what makes a AAA game special? Or there's so many open world games, there's so many big budget titles, there's so many, like, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this too is because, like, we got a game last week, Hi-Fi Rush, that was made for under $50 million, right? And it's arguably better than a lot of the stuff that has come out in recent memory.
50 million just sounds expensive.
It does. And, I mean, Control was like a cheap game, and it was made for 30 million pounds, euros, which is like,
Mhm.
40 something $million. So
Yeah.
I think it's like closer to 60 or 70. The dollar is like half a euro.
yeah, well, I mean, my point is that it wasn't $100 million game. It was
Right.
relatively
I'm
cheap.
gonna start this conversation by saying this. Like when we look at a lot of these budgets, I have a funny feeling like the bloat portion of it like comes into like the marketing. Because let's be honest, I think when they turn around and say we pumped all this money into a game, like if they literally pumped all that money into a game, that means the developers and all that stuff should be getting a nice paycheck, whether the game passes or fails or whatever. But I mean, like the Callisto Protocol, like I played and I beat that game, and I played and I beat that game when while that game was having issues. I played it on PC, and like it had a lot of like issues and stuff like that. It was amazing. Like I didn't want to. Wow, I see we found a way for me to start talking bad about Callisto Protocol night. Because I said I wasn't going to do it earlier, but the major thing was I was like, wow, like this is the same people that made Dead Space. What is going on here? And I'm not sure if it's just like they're developing on next gen hardware, because like remember Callisto Protocol came out for PlayStation Series X, PS5 Series X, and PC. Like it's not on those other platforms. Which is one thing that also helps like bloat these budgets sometimes, because like now you're spending money on costs to people to develop on those other dev kits and stuff like that. So I think a lot of this goes into marketing, because for example, like look at Forza that's getting ready to come out, right? They have to spend a lot of money on the freaking licensing and like the sponsors, like and getting and wooing sponsors to have all those cars in the game and stuff like that. You know, um, so there's that, like Halo. Okay, Halo Infinite was a nightmare because they had so much stuff tied into crossover marketing. Like, didn't they have a Doritos thing going on? A Doritos thing. Yeah, Doritos thing. They had two sports or power drinks thing going on too, and
Monster? I don't know.
G
I
Fuel.
I can't remember for
Oh.
sure. Corey would
Xbox,
know better than I would.
Xbox went with Rockstar for Halo and uh, Gears and something. Forza, I think, had some sort of marketing deal also.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those cross marketing deals don't happen for free.
I feel like the moment that basically games start getting more momentum than Hollywood movies and blockbusters and stuff, that's kind of when it went off the fucking rails. Where AAA titles had so much, they got to the point where they're too big to fucking fail.
Well,
And and there's something that's kind of tragic to be said in that, right? Because no, just like how like in the world of business, like like you can't, like as a business owner and stuff, you can't put one product, as your zero sum game for your entire brand. And I think a lot of these companies do this. Like Microsoft definitely had thought Halo was going to carry their asses while they fucked around, with other things. Sony, I can't really see where Sony makes their missteps at. They do make missteps and stuff like that, but Sony has like a strong like core of games and stuff like that. So where like if one game fails, it doesn't sting as bad for them. Nintendo also kind of the same way, even though like Nintendo's major failing is like they'll put a AAA title out on outdated hardware. And, that's kind of mean for me to say, but like I'm starting to join the boycott Nintendo Switch train, because I'm tired of seeing these good ass fucking games come out of the system that can't handle it,
Well,
stuff like that.
plus you look at Nintendo, right? And I think not only are the systems underpowered, right? So obviously it costs less to make 1080p assets as opposed to 4K deep textured assets, right? I mean, obviously you look at a character like Aloy, and Aloy probably costs 10 times the amount of what Link's character model, right? And that's no offense to Zelda, because Zelda's an amazing game, but like just a character asset like that probably costs a fortune to develop, animate, produce, right? Then you go into the voice acting and the motion capture and paying
Yeah.
those actors, and you're paying the character, like the body model for the character to scan in and do all that. And that takes a lot of budget that Nintendo just doesn't use because they don't make games like that. And I don't know if Nintendo even could even make a game like Horizon, as amazing as they are at making a game like Zelda or Mario and making gameplay first. They've never really attempted that cinematic experience. And like Breath of the Wild was really the first time they've tried any sort of
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote cinematics, right? And I mean, and there weren't that many, but like that was impressive for Nintendo, right? That they took the time to do that for Zelda but then you look at the games that Sony's making, and that's like all they make is like a cinematic experience, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably a ton of money that they, granted, beautiful games, great experiences, but like that's money that Nintendo doesn't spend. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why their games are cheaper, and that's why their systems are cheaper, because they don't use the same amount of money to do that.
All right. Well, can I ask a? Oh, Matt raised his
No,
hand
go ahead,
first.
Stephanie. Go ahead.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
I don't want to get into like a deep comparison about pharma prices and how they're always going up, and I can, but I first want to ask. I understand, like motion capture, voice acting, and just a lot of that extra stuff can cost more money. But say just games between the PS4 era and the PS5, just because we're using that example that was in the topic. What exactly I just like to know what exactly is causing this pr possible price hike between Gen 4 and 5. I mean, not Gen 4, but PS4 and 5. There was motion capture in 4, voice acting in 4, cinematic games in 4. So I'm like, I wonder what's changed, what's hypothetically changing it from like a $100,000 budget to a $200,000 budget. Because tend to ask these kinds of questions when I see pharma taking these gratuitous increases every year. I'm like, what exactly have you done differently? And maybe you have, and maybe you do warrant a little bit of a price increase, but like, why double? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is this
It's
a
it's
transparency thing?
no, well, it's transparent. They're saying, "Oh, this is how much it costs," but literally, like, it's a lot. It's all down to the tech. Like a lot of these games, even if the games are still being built on like pre-existing like game engines and stuff like that, there's still tech and R&D, involved in like how to make like because I can't remember. I think Dead Space remake right now. I want to say this is on the fourth iteration of the Frostbite engine. If I'm even saying that correctly, because Forspoken is I know for sure is on the fourth iteration of the Luminous engine, and look how that game is faring right now. Like it's dismal, and stuff like that. But a lot of it goes into tech because like as they continue to produce games on existing tech and stuff, they are also trying to make tweaks to the engines and everything that's gone behind it and stuff like that. And that's time, cost, and money. Time, cost, and what's the I can't remember the word, but I said cost and money and the same thing. uh, but yeah, that's one of the major things right there. And like sometimes it's just delays that cost them money too, because like at the end of the day they still have to payroll people, they still have to do this, they still have to pay for licensing and things like that. Like if a game has like real life music and stuff like that, somebody's getting paid for that. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, which is why I think the real money is in the marketing, because like the Callisto Protocol had a serious marketing campaign. Like I mean, like I saw like I don't even have cable. But whenever I turn my ad blocker off on YouTube and stuff like that, I was always seeing stuff for Callisto Protocol and some other and just other games in general. But it's also because my algorithm is all video games now, so they're just gonna throw all the gaming ads and stuff at me now and things like that. Um, but also, I think companies need to sit back and think sometimes. Like, don't don't throw all your resources into one thing. Crafton made a very big miscalculation using a brand new IP and throwing over 150,000, 50 million, into its budget and stuff like that. I understand Crafton wants to be known for something more than PUBG. But at the same time, it's like you could have fractioned some of that money off and also been working on some other new IPs and stuff like that. But it's one of those things. Sometimes developers back themselves in the corners and stuff like that, which is why Halo Infinite came out the way it did, which is why the Callisto Protocol came out the way it did, which is why Forspoken is coming out the way it did. But then again, I've never trusted Square Enix. If Square Enix is making something for their Western audiences and it's not a mainline Final Fantasy game, they're not gonna do it right. They're not gonna do it justice. Like look at Nintendo right now with Pokemon. What's I forget the colors.
Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, like look at that. Like that should have been an obvious home run for them.
Well, I mean, they're making the sales though, aren't they? For Pokemon.
Yeah, it's sold like 18 million copies.
It's easy to make sales when they're super.
That's all they care about, though, right?
No, it's easy to make those sales when the market is super saturated with Nintendo consoles. It is, like, I want to say, like,
not
Nintendo.
Really. Bayonetta 3 didn't sell 1 million units yet.
That game was never going to.
It wasn't going to. Yeah,
that game.
Bayonetta 2 sold over 4 million.
Yeah, but
over its lifespan.
It didn't hit over 500,000 until it came out on Switch, though.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
But see now, I'm gonna say a couple of things, but then I'm gonna get into what I want to say about this. How many people were absolute 100% Wii U haters, but then they picked up a Switch day one and then started getting all those games?
Everybody.
Exactly. Everybody except you and I, Corey. I mean, I'm not trying to speak ill of but I remember you and I both loved the Wii U, whereas a lot of people were like, "Oh, I played Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and it worked great on the Wii U." The reason these things happen 100% of the time is, I'm going to say it, because gamers. Now, there needs to be a shift in the audience for this to stop mattering like it does. Will a tiny studio make that $50 million game that takes over the world? I don't know, maybe, but with Nintendo, I'm going to be the meanest I can. I don't mean this sincerely. I don't mean this sincerely. I don't actually think this, but I'll bet you Nintendo is like, we could put this out, people will buy it because we're Nintendo. You put Mario on it, you put Pokemon on it, it's probably going to sell because people will buy it. Getting to what Stephanie was saying about pharma, eventually someone's going to need it. And you need it, fuck you, pay me. That's how pharma works.
Yes.
Now, what Sony, Microsoft, in terms of the console space, I'm not even going to touch PC just because I don't know enough.
PC is an anomaly. I'm just gonna say that.
But see, it doesn't matter what happens on PC because all games go there eventually. Legally or illegally, all games end up on PC.
I wasn't gonna say it like that. I was gonna say in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
There are people playing Bloodborne on PC as we speak right now. It's happening. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say they're doing the right thing, but it's happening. There are people that'll play Nintendo games on PC. Guess what? Everything's going to end up on PC eventually.
Okay, I need to recuse myself from this conversation.
However, my point here is Nintendo has the credibility, I guess we could say, or the cachet to say we could put out this not necessarily great iteration of a thing. People will buy it. And guess what? Fire Emblem came out. Corey bought it. Pokemon came out. How many kids begged their parents for Pokemon? How many age appropriate when Pokemon came out adults now play every Pokemon game?
Oh, my son and I, we both got Scarlet and Violet so we could play together.
Exactly. I'm not throwing shade at any of those things, but people will buy it. That's my
Mhm.
point. Like
I got a question.
Yeah.
I got a question about the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sales. Are these the separate units themselves, or is this combined?
They're probably separate because they're two different SKUs.
No, they're the
Yeah.
same. They count them as the same SKU.
Okay.
Oh, really?
All right.
Mhm.
All right. So
Another way Nintendo just skirts the.
I'm gonna shut up now.
but like, and EA, the console companies, the big publishers are looking for that. Well, we put this out, people will buy it. Unfortunately, none of their IP except maybe Final Fantasy, and that's a strong maybe, because those games keep coming out and they keep talking about how dog shit they do. So I don't know if the stats individuals at Square Enix are just like really expecting the heaven and earth to be shifted when a Final Fantasy game comes out, but they're trying to do that shit with. They tried that with what, the Marvel's Avengers,
Mm-hmm.
and then they've tried that with multiple IPs. They expect it with Kingdom Hearts, and it doesn't happen. And don't quote me on the numbers, because I don't have them in front of me. I'm literally talking out the side of my head, but everybody wants the Nintendo way. They want to put out IP that people will just buy. Unfortunately, they are victims of time, because Nintendo got in at the right time with the right, and it fostered the right goodwill.
Yeah.
And we are still doing this today with whatever hardware they put out, regardless of whether it is up to snuff or far enough behind that they can continue to make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's how they survive. Can Sony or Microsoft with a console do that? No. They can't put out generational tech and say like, here's Horizon in a way that you probably won't like, but you'll buy it anyway. No. They tried the hubris game once, and they spent a generation trying to recover.
Both companies.
Now, eventually, Sony recovered, putting out the games that they did. However, this all comes back. It's a vicious cycle that we as gamers all participate in. I do it. Y'all do it. Anybody listening to this does it. Nobody here can sit back and go, well, this is how I live my life. I buy only the purest video. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
In exactly that same voice.
I do that all the time.
Exactly. I play only the purest Mario Kart. I play uncut Smash Brothers. I play unfiltered I don't know. But the thing is, it's a cycle, and the Sean Layden quote points to a thing without actually addressing it. And anybody like us can ask the question, but I'm not trying to disrespect the panel here. I don't think any of us have the know-how to address this in the all-encompassing fashion that it could. And I'm not knocking anybody here, because I wouldn't keep coming to talk with y'all if I didn't love y'all and love talking with y'all.
Well, honestly, we're not inside the industry enough to even know what the hell is going on.
Exactly.
I am. I'm deep inside.
That's what she said.
Well, you know what? Well, you know what? Let's spin it back to you, Corey. What is your overall take on this?
I mean, I like big budget games. I like AAA experiences, but also like, I think companies need to start exploring the spectrum of games, because that we got to a point, and now we're getting better now, right?
Are we?
At exploring the spectrum of like, here's a $30 game, here's a $40 game. These single A, AA experiences are existing. But for a long time, it was just like, it's either a AAA experience or an indie experience, and there's nothing really in between, right? And so I think right now we're getting better at exploring those different experiences, but at the same time, like, okay, I think on the PlayStation side, I think Miles Morales was a great example of a kind of lower budget triple A experience at a budget cost. It was what an 8 to 12 hour experience depending on what you were doing in that game, and I think that's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, Laurent,
The
we were
replayability is there too,
yeah,
believe it or not.
Laurent, we were talking that like Uncharted 4 was like way too long, but then
Yes.
we got Lost Legacy, which was like the perfect length of an experience for an
I
Uncharted
know,
game for
it's
me, right?
yeah.
Like that game is incredible, and I think they do just enough. It gets in, it gets out, you're done. Great experience. And I think we need to start looking at those experiences
And it
now.
came out at a $40 price tag. Like
Yeah.
everybody was like, the
Well,
price tag
if you
tripped
bought
people.
the season pass with Uncharted 4, it was $20. So, I mean, right when it came out, but
Yeah,
um,
but the price threw people off so much. People asked like, "Is this a new game?" Like
mhm,
people did not believe that price tag.
yeah. So that's what and like on the Xbox side, we got Pentiment, right? We got Grounded. We just got Hi-Fi Rush, and these are smaller experiences. I think need to start happening in between these 4 and 5 and 6 year gaps between these monster titles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're getting better. I think we have a long way to go, but yeah, that's kind of my take on that topic. It's just I was just interested to see because like as somebody who really prefers big budget games, I would like the big budget experience that doesn't take 40 hours to beat, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot here. I have a family, I have kids, I have other things to do. I have a full-time job, right? I got all kinds of things to do.
All
That
that Destiny ain't gonna play itself.
dude, I haven't played any Destiny and like serious Destiny in a while.
Sure, I just wanted to get a dig
I
in.
know.
That's all.
I know.
No, it's
I
a
haven't
really
even
good.
completed my season pass, Matt.
That's a really good point, Corey. Though it's almost kind of like diversifying your portfolio when you're investing, right? Like,
Mhm.
there, it's great to have some major blockbuster, big budget title, but at the same time, it can't all be that. I'm sure. I don't know. Sometimes I get that kind of gaming fatigue where there's too much, like it's too much. And if Sony or Microsoft kind of were to put just as much care into the smaller budget stuff and diversify their portfolio, I think it actually will be better for them in the long run.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
and also you got also like I guess to try to kind of wrap this topic up, you also have to keep your eye on the on those games that are making all these promises. Like look at the bullshit that's happening with that game the day before. Like it is a freaking nightmare,
what's
and
going
like
on. I
it
don't
is
know if I
the
know what's going on.
oh man, there's so much that I can't really
Okay, we'll save it for another night.
Well,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, so I want to say one last thing, but like these games come out all the time, but because you're not hearing about them, you don't know about them.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
the Gravity Rush 2 is a great example of this, where it was a fantastic game on a dead handheld.
Mhm.
Gravity Rush 1.
That stings. Oh my god.
It sucks. I still have
Oh.
my Vita right over there. I still have it right over there. I still fucking play it. Persona, baby. But
I
like,
just waited 10 years and bought it on Switch.
yeah, I know, me too. I bought it again. I bought it again. But like those games come out all the time. Like there's one that just came out recently that I was really excited when I saw the trailer for it. But Evil West, Remnant from the Ashes came out a couple of years ago. Like
Sequel coming
these
out.
are, yeah, sequels coming out. Which play Remnant. Remnant's fucking cool.
It's coming to Switch too, apparently.
Yeah, I know. But these games come out, but because we don't see them in these massive marketing pushes, their studios will likely just put them out and that'll be it. Because look at Bayonetta. That's exactly what Bayonetta was until Nintendo decided to help them publish Bayonetta 2. And Bayonetta 2 is kind of a masterpiece. Bayonetta 3 is fun. I don't think it's as fun as 2. But those games come out all the time. But we can sit there and say, you know, Corey's right on one side because, you know, he wants the big budget things. That's valid. Some people just want the indiest of indies. That's valid as well. However, the AAA budget makers, I'll say, are not going to stop and say, maybe we could use this 200 million to make 2 or 3 small things and just hope people buy it. But like Laurent said, they have to de-risk it because they know, like Sony, you know, they're going to try and run God of War and Horizon to the mat until they stop selling. And then they'll probably take a long break between an installment and then come back, and all of a sudden Aloy is an alcoholic mother, just like Kratos was an alcoholic dad. Like this, and you know, I'm being facetious, of course, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody. I'm not trying to offend anybody by saying that. But after God of War 3, everyone's like, this is good, but like, did we need it? And then, you know, now after Ragnarok, people are saying, you know, God of War 3 was really good. Like, none of y'all thought that at the time.
I did. I loved it.
I'm just saying, that was before you and I met. But
I also like Ascension too, but I'm not going to apologize for that either.
Say that again.
Whoa!
I also liked
Okay,
Ascension.
new topic. It's time to move.
No, what did you just? You also like what? I actually didn't.
God of War Ascension. No,
the prequel that came out right after 3.
Oh yeah, I don't know anything about that. Like, I played God of War 1 and I didn't really care, and then I didn't play another one until the reboot, which I thought was wonderful. But yeah, let's move on.
Yeah,
because this is a hard topic, and it's too much.
Great topic.
Agreed.
All right. We're gonna skip the second topic because I don't know if it's worth talking about.
What is it?
Do we buy more games because of Game Pass? Because all right, we'll just get into it, I guess. So
we could quick fire that one.
Yeah, we probably can. So Phil Spencer came out and said in a recent interview, he also said this last year at some point, but obviously Xbox revenue is down like 12% and hardware sales are down 13%, expected because, you know, they don't put out games, nobody's going to buy your box, right? I mean, that's,
do you think?
But Game Pass subscriptions are on the rise. They're actually up something like close to 10% over year. And he says, and he claims, I don't know, don't work at Microsoft, but it's true for me, actually, that Game Pass leads to more game sales within the Xbox ecosystem. I am trying to weigh out if people actually buy more games because of Game Pass, or do you think this is kind of like some marketing ploy to get people back into like the Xbox ecosystem type thing?
This is a marketing ploy. Because like
I buy a lot of games because of Game Pass. You get a discount. Like I buy the games that I really like on Game Pass to keep because they'll leave eventually, right? Like Outriders was an awesome game that I ended up just buying because you know, it was on Game Pass. There's been a few indies that I've played on Game Pass that I ended up buying, some of them on Switch, some of them on Xbox, right? Like, I just feel like there's some truth to this, but also, like, am I the odd man out because I've been doing this, you know? And I know you guys don't all play on Xbox like I do, like as a primary box, right? But
I think it's true but false for the exact thing that you just described, Corey. There are single games that will get a spike in purchases. Now, is this spike going to put them in the black for the year? Probably not. But Game Pass creating more purchases is just like Napster creating more purchases for CDs.
Napster, whoo, what a throwback.
Yeah. I love that analogy. I love it.
But because really, like, the one thing the music industry was missing in the mid to late 90s and the early 2000s for sure was a way to try something out. Like, MTV wasn't servicing the music audience very well. Mainstream radio was not serving the music audiences very well at all.
Well, you mean Total Request Live all summer playing the same 10 music videos didn't do it for you, Matt?
Anyway, the marketing cycle on a AAA game isn't serving game audiences the best. Now, for someone like me, since about 2012, like I've been wanting different experiences than what I could play. Eventually that has led me to some dark corners of gaming. I have a Souls problem. I have a Monster Hunter problem now.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
I now think about roguelikes way more than any sane person should. But that's because I took it upon myself to go look for those things, to try a new thing and then figure out what I liked about that thing and try and get more of it. In Game Pass, the potential for that to happen is there with Game Pass. That's one thing. That's one reason I love it. Am I buying games because I played them on Game Pass? I will say my experience is not the same as Corey's. There are a couple of games that I bought on other platforms because I would prefer to play them there rather than on my PC, because I don't have an Xbox. I just play Game Pass on PC. Like a game like Dodgeball Academia, that's on PlayStation, and I played that for 2 hours on Game Pass. I'm like, I want this on PlayStation, and I played it there, and it's wonderful. Play Dodgeball Academia. That game's great. But then there's also been games that like I wanted to try out, but didn't want to fork out the money for. 12 Minutes. That game's fucking awful.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm glad I played it on Game Pass, because as an Annapurna fan, like that's the first absolute piece of dog shit that publisher has put out, in my opinion. So it's gonna be trade-offs. It's gonna be that statement is ultimately true, but for so many people, it's going to be false. Because there are so many people that'll say, oh, I can play it on Game Pass for free, which is actually not true. They'll play it there and then never think about it again.
Yeah, I have to agree. I guess it really does depend, right? Because I just happen to fall in one of those camps as well. When I had Game Pass for 1 year, and for me it was like, I'm going to play as many games as I can for free, and that's it. And I've played 12 Minutes. I actually tried to tackle a lot of indies so I could beat a full game in its entirety while I had Game Pass. And
then you realize a lot of indies are fucking long too.
Yeah, and just for me, like I know that having Game Pass allows for additional sales, which is great, but I actually never ended up buying a single game that I played on Game Pass. I mean, but I know it's just me.
Right.
What I say is,
I've been subscribed to Game Pass for 3 years, and I've yet to buy a single game off of Game Pass, even when it has a nice discount.
I mean,
I didn't buy them off of Game Pass. I bought them on another platform.
So. Well, yeah, that happens too, because like honestly, I don't like. I have Game Pass for PC. I just don't like Game Pass's ecosystem on PC. Like if the Steam version is available, I'll get it there. Yeah.
Game Pass
Hi-Fi Rush. Like even though I installed the Game Pass version, I plan on buying the Steam version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just wondering, because like I do
buying
it on Game Pass. Buying the Steam version.
Well, and you know what? In all honesty, like most people, like just going back to what Stephanie said, like like most people, like like they use Game Pass just as an engine to play more games and stuff like that. Which is there's nothing wrong with that. There's not. Because like I believe that's one of the things that Game Pass set out to do initially. Like that, I feel like that was the core reason why Game Pass out there, get people to play more games, stuff like that. It's a bonus if you want to buy the game and you get the Game Pass discount and stuff like that. Even though like most people just wait for these games to hit Humble Bundle, so you get like 11 games for $20, versus getting a 20% discount on one $70 game.
Yeah.
My itch library is 11,000 games deep because of bundles.
Oh my
Holy
god! Oh my god! I only have a couple thousand. Jeez, I know.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
You said itch, and I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Like, now, have I played a lot of them? No. Because you look at that list and just analysis paralysis just basically ties you to the floor and you can't move.
I played 0.001% of my itch library,
Yeah.
but you know what? If you're gonna throw out shit and he's got like 100 games for $1, guess what? I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for $1.
Exactly. God, I love when Matt's here. I love it.
I know. I wish
You
were
make
here
me
more
laugh,
often,
Matt.
I genuinely love you guys. So thank you for
Aw.
allowing me to keep coming back. What's next?
All right, so we're gonna skip the third topic because it's about Uncharted 5, and I feel like
Good.
Laron will talk about it on Crossroads next week.
Actually, we voted not to talk about this one on
Oh.
Crossroads.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna say we don't need an Uncharted 5, but that's just me.
oh man,
that's
see,
what I was
I
gonna
would
say
love
too.
to see an Uncharted 5, especially the way Uncharted 4 ended. But
yeah,
anyways,
as someone who just beat Uncharted 4, I feel like just like how I feel like the Last of Us could have and probably should have ended at Last of Us Part 1 with the way it ended. I feel like where Uncharted 4 ended, I feel like it's a good way to send it off into the sunset.
I agree with you, Laron, but I also think Uncharted is too big of a franchise for Sony to let go, and selfishly, it's one of the 3 or 4 major PlayStation franchises that I absolutely have fell in love with. So I selfishly want a 5. Matt.
And I'm just gonna say, didn't we just get done talking about developers need to try new stuff? We just did that.
New Uncharted character, new protagonist.
I mean,
speaking of,
I'll tell you this: if they make it a better fucking game, okay. But Uncharted sucks. I believe that.
Whoa.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think the characters and the writing are much better than the gameplay. But speaking of Uncharted with a female protagonist, let's talk about Tomb Raider's cinematic universe.
Do we need this? I don't think we do.
So,
no.
Okay.
Corey, I've not played Tomb Raider. I know you have and love it.
Oh, I love the new trilogy. Oh my gosh, especially Rise and Shadow are so good. And apparently they're making a 4th game in that series, but it's going to get a little rocky because I'll just read this excerpt that I wrote. Tomb Raider is on the move again as tech giant Amazon has purchased the IP from the Embracer Group for $600 million, about twice as much as Square Enix sold the IP in its Western studios in 2022. We know Crystal Dynamics is still set to develop the title as the script was seemingly leaked and eventually partially read aloud on a recent episode of Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, but it seems Amazon has bigger plans. The company announced that it wants to create a universe involving the IP in movies, TV shows, and video games, amongst other media. Crystal Dynamics is also working on Perfect Dark with Microsoft, so that's also worth noting that this team seems to be splitting its time. I guess it's a good thing the Avengers is shutting down. So why does everything need a cinematic universe, especially an IP like Tomb Raider with one central character? Do we need that? DC is also trying to do this across movies, TV, and games as well, even going as far as saying the same actor will play the character across movies, TV, video games, and extra media.
That seems a bit extra.
Revenue streams. That's what they're doing.
I get it, but come on. First of all, so from a DC aspect, even though I don't know if people understand how long video games these days take to make, but I get it. Okay, you have a Batman that you can recognize in this movie, and maybe they appear in this TV show, maybe they appear in this game. Maybe the voice actors sound alike or different, but the character is the same. But Tomb Raider, there's 2 central characters in that entire franchise, 3 maybe if you include the dead dad, maybe the T-Rex from the first game. I don't know. Why do we need a cinematic universe? How do you look at Tomb Raider and say, That IP deserves multiple TV shows and movies.
So here's the only way I could think about it, and I know they would never do something like this. Is I'm trying to think of another franchise, but I'm brain dead. Is if the concept of Lara Croft is not one person, and that there's various Laura Crofts like
So
throughout
James
time.
Bond.
Yeah, like a James Bond. Like maybe if they did it that way. I
And I
know,
feel like
Corey. I know.
they're also trying to tap into the Indiana Jones idea with this. Like, let's be fair, that's what they want to do.
They had their chance with those Angelina Jolie movies.
I mean, even the Elusive
Did they
Vikander one.
though?
I feel like they did, but the problem is those. But the
The
problem
source
is those,
material for those was not Indiana Jones.
yeah, I was about to say they kind of went the tits and ass, like play versus actually being adventuresome.
Nothing like stuffing traffic cones in your tank top. Am I right?
Hey, you know what I do on a Thursday night is none of your concern.
I don't really have an answer for this. Because the question is, why do we need a Tomb Raider cinematic universe? And I can't even fathom why we would need it.
Can we just get a good movie first before we start?
Either a movie, or just make a limited series. Like a series that's like 9 to 10 episodes long. Like it has opening and it has a finish, and just I feel. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking, you know what, this Last of Us thing is doing pretty good. Maybe we can do it with another with a more premiumly established franchise. Because Tomb Raider is as old as 64-bit graphics.
Yeah,
yeah. It's so the Alicia Vikander movie did about $400 million, and they were originally working on a sequel to that until the IP was sold. We do know that there's an animated series where Haley Atwell is voicing Lara Croft.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's coming to. Well, I guess it's going to be on Amazon Prime now. I thought it was coming to Netflix, but I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work now. We know
it only gotten one season on Netflix if it came there, so
yeah.
So I think it's better off that it's not on Netflix.
Fair. We know another game is in the works. Some sort of sequel to this, the Origin trilogy, as they called it. So, man, I'm tired of everything trying to be a universe. Like the Marvel stuff is like getting too much for me. Like I'm enjoying it, but it's a lot, and then the Star Wars stuff is a lot. And Laurent, maybe you can answer this better than I can, but maybe the Star Trek stuff is also becoming that. And I know they're trying to, they're also, so this is also Disney is also trying to make National Treasure a cinematic universe. I don't know.
Yeah, what is up with that? What is up with that?
Because they had
actually,
that show.
I've heard that show is good though. That's the only problem though.
I have too, and supposedly it's going to lead into the third movie with Nicolas Cage, but I haven't watched it yet. But as a fan of the first two movies, I can say we do not need a National Treasure cinematic universe. Okay, I know those movies aren't very good, but I really love those movies, especially that first one. It's so good. I need to know what's on page 47.
Look,
to pivot back to what you were saying about Star Trek. Star Trek. Here's the thing people fail to realize. Star Trek had a cinematic universe before it was the cool thing to be, because Star Trek at one point had 3 concurrent shows running at the same time.
Don't they have 10 now though?
Huh?
Don't they have
there's 5 right now. There's 5 right now, thanks to Paramount Plus. But I just gotta say, last year was a wonderful year if you were a Trekkie, because as soon as one season ended, the next season started, and it was fucking amazing. And me and my friends, we feel like we're lost in a fog right now, because it's on break until the middle of this month. It's man, what are we gonna do?
I would disagree with you. I think Star Wars had the cinematic universe first. I'll say that, because they also had the people that were writing novels.
See,
now hang on.
We're talking about beta canon,
right? And then eventually all
a slippery slope.
Eventually, when the intellectual property was sold for what, $2 billion, I don't remember. they said none of that counts. So it had a universe until that happened. It's just now that there's one entity controlling the narrative in that universe.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will play devil's advocate here and say there is a way they could do this. However, it's not talking about multiple things at once. It's about putting enough behind one thing. Just one. Make that one thing really, really good. And see if people want more. Don't even call it a cinematic universe. Just like say, hey, Amazon, we're going to make whatever the Tomb Raider thing is the best we can and see what happens.
I don't think they're calling it a cinematic universe. I think that's just kind of what we've devolved into now when it comes to television.
Right.
Television and movie.
But see, and then like, because like, I have a feeling they'll do a movie and then try and do a game tie-in to that movie, and then they'll try and do a show that is ancillary to both, and then it's going to go off the rails real fast if they're trying to do more things than one. Like, get one thing right and then build on that.
It's crazy times, guys. Crazy times. I do want to say I am really excited that Crystal Dynamics is developing a sequel to these Tomb Raider games, though, because those games are excellent. Even Shadow, which Eidos Montreal developed, not Crystal Dynamics, but it's still it's a fantastic trilogy, and I'm glad that they're kind of like, you know, everybody kind of sticks to this quote unquote trilogy format, and then they feel like they have to reinvent the wheel, you know. And not that I don't want Tomb Raider to be like a 10 out of 10, because I do, but like, if we got a Tomb Raider game that was as good as Shadow of the Tomb Raider every 3 years, a nice, you know, 12 to 15 hour experience with like a bunch of extra things you can do if you want, and Amazon, you know, really see, here's the thing, because Crystal Dynamics is still owned by Embracer Group. I don't know if there's some sort of deal for them to, you know, work together or work with that IP. So that's also something to consider, is that like, after this game, Crystal Dynamics could not be developing Tomb Raider anymore, which is also a scary thought, because Tomb Raider, they are just, I don't know. I think Crystal Dynamics is a super underrated developer. When they're put in a position to develop games that they know how to develop. I'm looking at the Avengers as the one kind of standout that's not great. So that's it. That was an interesting kind of conversation, I guess.
That's all she wrote.
That is all she wrote. That's all she wrote for this podcast too, guys. We did it.
Woo!
Guys, we stuck to the doc. We did a thing. We did the thing.
We did the thing.
I didn't break it? Nice.
Nope. Stephanie broke it, actually.
Broken clock is right twice a day. Woo!
I'm just kidding. Matt, thank you for joining us tonight.
Always happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I hope you can be here more often, although with your upcoming prize package for winning the game, you know, I know time's going to be limited for you, but hopefully you'll be back sooner than later.
Yeah,
you know,
you're not done with me yet.
Yeah,
I'll find a way to come here and stink up the joint.
Yeah. Where can we find you, Matt?
You can find me on co-host. That's cohost.org/infinite-rewind. They don't allow underscores yet, so
lame.
That's where you can find me. Come play Monster Hunter with me on any platform. Infinite_rewind is basically all of them except Game Pass. I don't remember my ID there, but DM me. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
Slide into his DMs, people. You heard him first.
I mean, I guarantee you, no matter what you say in my DMs, I've probably heard worse. You can also find me hosting a few other podcasts with some friends. One is called Freereeling It, where my buddy Jesse and I talk about movies. Find us there. We're on all podcatchers. Recently, we discussed Violent Night from last year. We also discussed The Apartment, which is a classic. And we also talked about the 100 greatest films put out by Sight and Sound. So we tend to go pretty positive. And when we're critical, we don't just say this sucks. We say like, this is why I didn't like this. And it's a really good conversation show, I think. I also talk about music on a podcast called Trivial Merit with my friend Caroline. She and I come up with playlists based around an artist or a style. And we try and get us, hopefully you, from a negative mood to a positive one. Our most recent episode is on Tom Petty, and it was a really fun one to record.
Oh, nice.
And we've also done Smokey Robinson, The Miracles. We've done it for about 2 years, so we've got a lot there. Take a look.
Nice.
Both of those come out every 2 weeks. And lastly, I am part of the Bald Gun Guy podcast put out by Scanline Media. That is a level-by-level playthrough of the modern Hitman series. We're still in the end of Hitman 2 because holidays, life, schedules, and a myriad of other things have kind of got in the way. But we're about to record the final DLC for Hitman 2 and then go into Sniper Assassin and then go into Hitman 3. That is a really cool show. Check out scanlinemedia.com. Six and Ty are wonderful to talk to about one of my favorite series of all time. That's where you can find me.
Nice. Well, Matt, you're welcome here anytime you want to be here. So I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad everybody out there is here as well. You can follow us at Boss Rush Podcast, at Boss Rush Network, at Boss Rush Media. Follow all that on Twitter. You can visit our website, bossrush.net. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our new series, Let's Play Games, where I just play games and throw it on the YouTube channel. Yeah, it's a thing that I'm trying to play more games, and this is
get right out of town.
I know, right? Check out our family of podcasts. Very excited that our very first Boss Rush book club is coming up. So stay tuned for more information on that. I want to thank everybody.
Listen to Talk the Walk. Talk the Walk is really good. I just want to say that.
New episode comes out on Friday.
Talk the Walk is really good.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it because, in a sense, this new book club idea is kind of like Talk the Walk, but just not walking sims.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because that's what Talk the Walk's for.
Yeah.
And then we cover the rest.
Why not both?
Oh, here we go.
I'm just being a child. Don't worry about it.
Speaking of children, I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Have a good one.
The Boss Rush Podcast is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and is recorded from our headquarters in Akron, Ohio. This show is produced, written, and directed by me, Corey Dierig. My co-hosts are Stephanie Klimov, LaRon Dawkins, and Edward Varnell. You can find Stephanie at Klimov_author on Twitter and Instagram, as well as on the EXPcast. You can find LaRon at Exodus803 on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube, and also on Crossroads, the video game podcast. You can find Edward at ThatRetroCode on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hosting Nintendo Power Block. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at IamCoreyInHD, and find me hosting Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, and co-hosting Nintendo Power Block. Find the Boss Rush Podcast on all social media platforms at Boss Rush Podcast. You can also follow Boss Rush Media and Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.